on just so you know what you can get done today. Uh, so notes today are fairly short. Okay, they won't take that long. We have a try it as today's assignment. But if you were gone yesterday because of FFA, I'm going to have you do the lesson quiz first. Okay, and then when you're done with the lesson quiz, then you can work on the try it. I want to get that lesson quiz graded today. Okay. And then that way you'll have your notes back and I'm not hanging on to it for longer for the rest of the section, okay? So I planned on grading the try it, but that didn't happen third period because there were so many people that were doing the lesson quiz. So we'll do that on Monday, okay? There is a new con, but it's not due until Tuesday midnight, okay? So if for some reason you zoom through these on solving these and graphing these and have time, then work on con. If not, you'll have some time Monday and Tuesday to be working on that, or over the weekend, I guess, if you don't want to have to work on it. Okay. Also, so applying to all classes, it's not just Algebra 2 classes. Okay. D's and F's. So moving forward, the rest of the semester, hopefully, and then you'll start over fresh second semester. If you have a D or an F, I don't want you moving to work with somebody else. Okay, because that means you're probably not moving to work with the right person. Okay. Also music and earbuds, okay, so you lose that. It's a privilege, so you don't have to have that for this class, okay? So if you're got a D and an F and you're always got music on and headphones on, it's probably a distraction from this class, that you're not getting things done, okay? So make sure you're keeping an eye on your grades. And if I ask you not to be sitting with somebody or put your earbuds up, that's going to be why, okay? We good? Okay, I don't think we forgot anything else. Oh, yesterday there was a Google form, multiple choice Google form. So I printed those already and put them in the grade book already. So if you were gone yesterday and did not get that submitted, I don't keep on getting back in and saying, oh, I wonder if they got it done. Oh, I wonder if they got it done. I don't get back in there. So you're gonna have to email me if you didn't get that handed in. You technically, if you were gone, have 3 days to do it. Okay, I don't want to just keep guessing when you're gonna get that done. So as soon as you finish that, just email me and then I'll get in there and check the score for you, okay? And update it in the grade book. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay, so notes for this section. Notes 11, 12. Just draw a small number line. You don't have to fill any of it in, just really small at the top of your notes. And then you're gonna write less than or greater than. And then below that, write less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Okay, so the actual physical name of these objectives when you get your worksheet is solving linear inequalities. So inequalities is the greater than, less than, okay? And then solve and graph compound inequalities. So that's graphing when you have two things. So they're either going to cross each other, and that's the and, or they're going to go in separate directions, which will be the or, okay? We've done a little bit of this last year. The ones that we did last year, and you probably did previous in Algebra 2, were the actual coordinate graphs where you had the x and the y. Okay, and there was something different when we graphed these lines, that if it doesn't have a bar, it was what type of line? You remember? Because you'll have this on con. It was that dashed. And then for the ones that had the bar below it with the equals, then it was what type of solid line. Okay, so you'll need to remember that for con, and we're going to write that down right here too. Just we're not going to do coordinate x and y. We're just going to do number lines in this section. Okay, so on a number line where we have 0, the numbers to the left are what? Negative. So we're just going to write -1, -2, just so we know the direction of our negative. And then to the right is positive, so just 1 and 2. Hopefully you remember that from the crazy. Okay, so now this one we're going to write if you have a less than or greater than symbol and we're using the number line, you are going to have an open circle when you graph it. If it's an actual graph, like with x and y, okay, it's going to be a dashed line. Okay, so with a number line, we're just graphing open circles, closed circles. If it's a graph, because you'll have con where we use graphing it on a coordinate line. Then it's going to be a dash line when you graph it. Okay, so then when you have less than, equal to, or greater than or equal to, when the equal is there, then it's a solid line. Or solid line, sorry. Solid. Let's do this, sorry. Closed circle. I'm putting the two of them together. It's a closed circle. And then for the graph, it's a solid line. Just trying to make a solid circle. Okay, good so far? Okay, so here is our very first problem. And this is like a bracket thing that kind of has a point thing. I don't care if you write it like that. You can just put parentheses if you want to. Okay. So this is like a parentheses, x, and then a straight bar, almost like an absolute value bar. Okay. And then x is greater than a -3, and x is less than 5. And then you can just put parentheses. It's just a different looking bracket than the square looking bracket. Okay, the x that is at the beginning of this really has nothing to do with anything that you're graphing. It's just saying whatever values that you are looking for would have to work in both of these. Okay, the and part, and you'll see what we're doing, but we're not using it to graph. Okay, so we're looking at just this one for right now. So x is greater than a -3. Okay, so it doesn't have the bar below it, it's just greater than. So is it open or closed? Open. So at a -3, you're going to make an open circle. And please, when you do these, don't just put a dot there and we're trying to figure out was it's meant to be open or closed. Okay, make it pretty obvious first, please. Okay, so the way that I'm reading this is whatever values I'm plugging in for x needs to be greater than a -3. So do the numbers get bigger as I go to the left or to the right? To the right. So we're just going to draw a little arrow saying going to the right. Thank you. Okay, so now for the other one. Now we have x is less than 5. Okay, so again we have what type of circle? Open. So an open circle at 5, and the values I'm plugging in for x have to be smaller than 5. So would that be to the right or to the left? To the left. Okay, so we just draw an arrow going like that. Okay, so the left, this one right here at -3 would keep on going on, right? And this one here at 5 would keep on going on to the left. So when we're solving for this and they're picking out values for x, you're not going to do this. Maybe later on we will be in the semester, but whatever values they're going to ask you is the solution to the equation. It has to work in both of them. And, okay? So like if they said, is 2 a solution to the equation? It has to work in both, and it'd be yes, because it's all the numbers going this way and all the numbers going this way. Okay? If they picked 8, then it would be a no, because it only worked in the -3 one that went to the right, but it didn't work on the 5 one that went to the left. It has to work in both. Okay? But right now we're just graphing. Easy enough so far? Okay, next one. I would save the best for last. Okay, graphing. So this reads -5x minus 15 is greater than 15, or a -2x is less than -14. So this one is not going to work in both of them. It's going to work in one or the other. Okay, so we need to isolate our variables first to solve each one of the equations. Okay, so my first one, I know I'm going to add 15. Okay, so I've got a -5x is greater than 30. Okay, my last step is to what? Divide by -5. Now there's something that we're going to have to recall from previous math. Switch this. Right, we got to switch. So the one that you're moving, this was a good question that was asked third period. They're like, does it matter which one of them is negative? If I'm just dividing with a negative, doesn't matter. It's the one that you're moving. If the one that you're moving is the negative, that's when you switch it. So say that was a positive 5, which is greater than a negative 30, I would still be dividing with a negative, but you don't switch your sign. Okay, it's the one that you're moving. If it is negative, then you switch your sign. Okay, so that goes away, but it's no longer greater than, now it becomes less than negative 6. Good? Okay, so now the next one, which the next one just has the divide by a negative 2, divide by a negative 2. Just break it down here so it's next to each other. So x, we've got to switch it. It means 7 and a positive 7. Okay, we're good? Okay, so now we're graphing, but these guys are not going to cross over. The ors go in different directions. Okay, so both of them are going to have open circle, right? So open circle at a negative 6. And then am I going to the left or the right?
Right. Or x is less than to the left.
Right. So whatever values I'm plugging into this, it has to be smaller than a negative 6. So like a negative 8 is smaller than a negative 6. Okay, open circle again at 7. Okay, which direction am I going?
Right.
To the right, because whatever numbers I'm putting in here would need to be bigger than 7. So like 9. 9 would be bigger than 7. Okay, and that's it. So this isn't an and where they would cross and share a number. The ors go in opposite direction. Good? Okay, so we're getting away for a minute from graphing, and we're just going to solve. So x plus 8 minus 2, and then parentheses x minus 8, and then inter parentheses is less than 0. Okay, so before I can start moving things and isolating my variable, I have to do what first? Distribute. So we have to distribute first. So I have to distribute the negative 2. I didn't do anything with my x or my 8 yet. So a negative 2x plus 16. Okay, now we combine my terms, and they're already on the same side together, so I don't do opposites. I just combine them just like they are. So that would be a negative 1x. 8 and 16 would be a positive 24. Okay, now I need to isolate my variable. I need to get my variable by itself. So that means I need to move this over to the other side so it'll change from a positive to a negative. Or
Divide.
okay, I'm dividing, right? And then the one that I'm dividing and moving is a negative, so I'm going to switch it so it becomes x is greater than a positive. And this one, it just says solve, so don't say solve or graph. So you don't have to graph it. Okay. You good?
Yep.
Okay, 2 more. I'll blow this one up too. And really, this one's similar to the last one. It's just I want you to know how to write your answer for this one. Okay, so a negative 2 parentheses x plus 4 is less than 2 minus 2x. Okay, so distributing just like we did in the last one. Okay, I want to isolate and get my x's to one side. Does it matter which one I'm moving? Why? They cancel out, right? So if I move the left side to the right side, it changes from positive 2x, and you have a negative 2x, positive 2x, they're gone, right? Same thing on the other side. Okay, so when you do that, it's not necessarily a no solution. If it was an equals, then yes, it would be a no solution. But because we have an inequality, you have to look at what is there. Okay, so we're going to write both of these just so you know when you have them, because you're going to have both. You're going to know how to write it. Okay, so if the statement is true, what is left, you're going to write it as all real, I'm abbreviating, they'll use the word numbers. Okay, I'm just abbreviating. So all real numbers. If it's false, then you're going to write no solution, because you'll have both. Okay, so what we're looking at is what is written there, what the x is. So don't so this is why I want to bring this up. So some people go ahead and move their 8s and their 2s to one side and then their x's, and then they don't have two things to compare. So the x's would be what you need to get rid of first, because you need to look to see if the statement is true. Okay, so is a negative 8 less than 2? Right. Yes. So you would write all those numbers as your answer. So if it wasn't, say it was a positive 8 is less than 2, then that's not true. So there is no solution, because that would always not be true. Okay. But this is true. And where this comes from is if they tell you an actual value, like you're plugging in and evaluating something, and they said x is 1. Well, if I plug in 1 here and 1 here, you're still going to get that same answer where the left side is smaller than the right side. Or if I plugged in a 2 and a 2, it's not going to change it. Okay. All right. Last one. And this is as hard as it gets. But I got to write it on here, because I didn't know it was on there until they went to go to the try it today. So this is actually the first try it that you have on there, but you're going to put it on your notes, because there wasn't one on my notes when I did it. Okay. So this is the very first, and you'll just have to write the answer on the try it when you do it, but I want you to have it in your notes for the lesson quiz and stuff like that. Okay, so this is number 64 on the try it. So it's a negative 7 is less than or equal to a negative 7x minus 21, and then less than 7. They didn't write the and in the order. Okay so far? What? Have you? Well, some of this is review. I don't think I recall. I didn't do this with you guys last year's review. You might have done it in Algebra 1. Okay, so before we can isolate my variable, I've got to get rid of this. And because it's all written as one equation, I have to do this to both sides. Okay, so my first step is to get rid of the minus 21. So I'd add 21, right, to get rid of it. But what I do to one side, I've got to do to the other sides as well. Okay, so I have 14 is less than or equal to a negative 7x, which is less than 28. So really this is two separate, like you solve to the left and then you solve to the right. Okay. So you're going to divide by a negative 7. So because I'm dividing by a negative 7 to both sides, I'm going to switch both of those inequalities. Okay? So dividing by a negative 7, dividing by a negative 7. So I know I'm switching these guys. Now it becomes greater than on that side, which would be a negative 4, greater than or equal to on this side, which would be a negative 2. Okay, this one did say craft. Okay, so biggest you need is 0 and negative 4. So I've got a negative 2, 3, and I'm going to put my negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to just start with this one. So negative 2 has this symbol next to it. So is it going to be open or closed? Closed circle. So just make sure it's obvious. Don't put a bunch of circles and it still has white in the middle and we're not sure if that's your open or closed. Okay, so what I'm plugging in here has to be smaller than a negative 2. So which direction? Left. Okay. Good? Okay. So now I'm looking at this one. So open or closed? Open. Open. So open at 4. And whatever I'm plugging in for x has to be greater than a negative 4. So that'll be to the right. Okay. So this would be one where I could pick something in between those numbers and it would work in both of them. Okay. That would be an and situation. Ors go out, ands go towards each other. We good? That's as hard as it gets right there. Okay. All right. So those that need to do the lesson quiz, you're doing that first. So remember, you need your notes to hand in with your lesson quiz. So I need to know who those people are. You need yours. One? No? You were registered? You weren't registered. I wasn't.
It's objective 10, right?
Yes. It's the age one that's a sporty product.
Okay, it's just one.
There's four that I did with you. Any others?
Yeah.
Good? Those that missed lesson? On the top, yeah.
Try it on paper.
No, I got it. I just want to get the quizzes up.
Oh, I was just waiting.
What? Oh,
This is the try it coming back, so when you're done with the lesson quiz, we can. Okay, real quick, this applies to everybody. So the try it at the very bottom, like when I turned it in, it was there, but when I photocopied it, it must have been, okay? So number 75, you can't see. Okay, so I wrote it up here on the board right up above algebra 2. Some people didn't feel like it had enough space here, they wrote it back. I don't care. Somebody in front of you or behind you is going to be grading it, so you can tell them where it's at. Okay, so it's x plus 4, and then minus 3, and then parentheses, x plus 4, and your parentheses is greater than 0. Okay? And it's a solved one, you don't have to graph it. Okay? Now, I just want to point this out because they're pretty good as long as you're like paying attention which ones you're graphing and which ones you're not. So if you look at the try it, I don't know what in do in all these, but so 64, you know you're graphing. I don't need to see what the answer to the actual equation is, like what we did here. I just need to see the graph because I'm going to know you got the equation right if you have the closed circle at the right spot. Okay. 65 is just a solving one, but now they wrote it differently. Now they wrote it with graph and a colon above the problems. So make sure you know that you're graphing 66, 67, and 68. They just didn't write the word out in front of all of them. Does that make sense? Okay. And then they went back to writing the word. So solve, 70s graph. All of the rest of the front page is just solving. And then the back page, the rest of them are graphing. Okay. So they went back and forth between writing it next to the equation and not there. Okay. We won't grade this until Monday. Okay. So that we have some time for those that are trying to get caught up. I do want to grade the lesson. So when you're done with that, give it to me. And that way you have all your notes back.